Hey there, and welcome back to Scrap with Penny, where paper meets story. Today we are doing a Stash Busting Saturday. This is going to post the first Saturday in December, and this little series was birthed during the summer when a subscriber requested that I do some stash busting with Echo Park, and I ended up doing 5 stash busting videos. I can't remember if it was July or August, and then I just kept the stash busting as a regular series, posting on the first Saturday of every month. I do plan to carry this over into 2026, and I get it. We've all got a lot of stuff, and we like going back to revisit it and use it. So toward that end, I have selected a Simple Stories collection, and it is copyrighted 2014, so 11 years old, and honestly it's hard to believe it's that old. I did do month in review for an entire year with this homespun line, and I have a lot of it. This is the early format of Simple Stories. You know, their genesis was in the pocket page arena, and you can see this collection leans heavy on 3x4, 4x6, 6x8, 4x4 pocket cards, and then they had these horizontal strips also. So what I'm working on today for my story is a 2021 story, and it's I don't know, there's 2 stories left after this that involve the dogs, and it's my son getting his dogs, and I don't know if I'm still going to tell that story or combine those 2 into one story. But I think this is either going to be my last or next to last 2021 layout. So Philly moving here, I'm checking it off because we're going to go the distance. See, here's that. And I do have it, cordoned off to dog. I've done that one. But anyway, so this is exciting. I've stayed focused on it, and it's going to be good to wrap it up, to wrap up that year. And the reason why I was focused on 2021 is I did month in review for 2021 earlier this year, and I just wanted to wrap up all the stories for that year so I could consider it done. So here are my photos. I've selected to print them 3x3, and I think that this story about Philadelphia moving here is going to encapsulate 2 layouts. I'm going to do a single page layout today for 2021 that talks about the phone call that he gave me saying they were moving, me offering for them to live with us while they looked for a home, that parlaying into building a house, and them being here 11 months. But what I want to focus on for 2021 is just the news that they're coming and them getting here. So this is one of the last days in their apartment. This is me making space in the pantry. He's a chef, she's a chef. So they were coming with supplies. I had to make room in the laundry room, and I had to empty an entire bedroom closet, and we had to empty out space in the kitchen for more than just pantry supplies. He has quite a liquor collection, and this is what he's holding up here. I think that's a scotch. And so I had to procure things from the Container Store to get some more storage space. And anyway, and then this is their arrival day. So the order, this would be the order. They get here, they drive down, and they're in 2 cars because they've got to bring 2 cars down. And he got here first, and then this is him unpacking. He's very efficient. So that's the pictures I've selected. They're 3x3, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the sketch. Okay, so yeah, you can see this pretty good. In 2013, Allison Davis started a collaboration with Simple Stories on Life Documented, and Simple Stories extended to her the invitation to present on their blog a monthly series of sketch layouts using their pocket page format. And so she did a sketch, and then she did a sample of the sketch. And Simple Stories posted this on TypePad, and TypePad has since folded. And so the there aren't going to be any links back to TypePad because it's obsolete. Now, at this time, Allison's blog was on Blogspot, and you can go to AllisonRDavis.blogspot.com for now, and you can see a little nod that she'll post saying, go check it out on the Simple Stories blog, which is not there. But because I am, I don't want to say, because I am organized on my sketches, maybe that's the best way to say it. I did download all of them and I printed them, and I'm going to copy them all to a Google Drive, and you will be able to copy that folder of sketches and samples to your Google folder. It's not going to allow you to download or edit or delete. And so the link to all of these sketches is going to be in the video description. And then I may go ahead and also post it on social. These were all free. I'm not sharing anything that was paid, and it links back to Simple Stories. So for my sketch, I liked this band, but I liked it rotated because this collection, it has those 6x12 strips, but they're vertical and not horizontal. Okay, so I thought, okay, I could take this idea and rotate it, but on the photos I wanted to go with this photo configuration, and so that's why I've got the 3x3s. I've got 5 printed. I'm going to find a pocket card. Here's this sketch example. The Google Drive folder will have this image, and then there's a shot of the left page, the right page, and then there's a PDF for the sketch. So, and I think that there are like close to 30. I'm not going to flip through all of them, but this is such a great resource, and it's a shame that it's kind of gone. I thought about emailing Simple Stories and asking if they would consider adding it. You know, they moved their blog from TypePad to their website, and then all of the history was lost. But at any rate, what we're going to do is we're going to use a merge or a marriage or a combination of this sketch and this sketch. But this one is rotated. And this is what I talk about all the time. You can dissect any sketch, any element you like. You can pick it up and use it and marry it with the components from another sketch. So I'm going to use the paper placement here and the photo arrangement, here. And so let's talk about paper. I'm excited to share this with y'all because I think it's such a great resource and it's largely lost. So going back to my paper, these were the choices I had. I selected this one because I never thought my son would move home. So I may do a subtitle that says Coming Home Sweet Home. I don't know, maybe not. But also I'm thinking about doing a pop-up of this onto this, you know, like because I use this for month in review, I overbought on all of these little pocket elements, which, you know, that is also a standard MO for me. And I pulled this floral to go beside it as a possibility. I had pulled the dot, but then I thought, oh no, that's dot on dot, but I liked the dark color, so that's what drove me to the floral. And then there's this stripe, which is the other side of the floral, and I had, SG did a kit on this, a sketch, Super Saver sketch where you get like 3 layouts out of a couple pieces of paper, and I didn't finish. There was one of them I didn't do, and so I have these strips that I had cut from that kit and kept, and then I also had a piece of khaki paper from that kit. And just along the lines of stash busting, you know, it would be really smart for me to use up this khaki because it's not a paper I reach for very often, and it would be a way I could use it up. But look how cute that's going to look. And then, you know, my photos will go right in here. Okay, so that's the genesis for my layout today, and this is already cut. I need to trim up my photos, and the sketch shows, and I'll drop the image into an inset on the screen. The sketch shows that these are on a mat. So I have kind of been thinking, you know, what mat would I use? And this is an instance where Simple Stories uses cream and white in the same collection. And so I thought, should I use French vanilla? Should I use white? And I thought, well, if I go with khaki, then I don't have to worry about that. So that was another impetus on selecting the, oh, it's Kraft. I'm saying khaki, but it's Kraft. This Kraft paper. And I don't know, this doesn't feel like Bazzill, but I don't think American Crafts, I don't think it's theirs either, so it's probably Bazzill. Okay, so I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to trim up my paper, trim up my photos, think about my mat, and we're going to get going on this. I like to share that I use the little Creative Memories photo trimmer to trim up my images, and what I do is I print two sides freely, and then I cut my last two sides up against this mint tape. So I just come up against it and trim, and then that way I get uniform pictures. And I think especially in this situation where we're going to have two vertical columns and you want them uniform, this is something that really works for me. And so what I need to do next is trim up my little 3x3 card. I don't know if I'm going to pick a 4x4 and cut it down, or a 3x4, and I love it. So that is how I trim up my pictures. And the use of the low tack mint tape is a hack from Dorothy Guinan at Scrapbooking Quebec channel, and she recommends this, uses this technique, and I have found it to be very useful because there's just so many places you can lay your picture down and not be certain that you're putting it in the consistent spot from one photo to the next. Okay, so let me work on my photo mats. So I am back and I've got my photos trimmed, and I've pulled out my 12x12 Misty. I picked this up when Nicole McGork was teaching that stamping on scrapbooking class on 2Ps, and so then when I started making cards, I grabbed the acrylic corners, and then earlier this year I just married the two together. So I'm using the 1/8 corner, which does have a little bit of give in it, and so that's why you'll see me kind of reinforcing the left and bottom sides so that I get a consistent border. To get my other margins, I just come with a pencil and mark that, and then I'll take this to my trimmer. It has been, for me, a very easy way to get a nice consistent mat. And in every video description I do upload, or I do add the Etsy link. The shop that I used no longer sells them, but there's a identical product from another seller. So I just turn this piece of paper. I'm just using some Hammermill cover stock, I guess. And I went with white because honestly, with the floral being navy and the home 6x12 element being the aqua, I was limited in what I could put on top of it to pop, and red seemed too much and pink didn't seem really to fit, and I'm not really a fan of yellow. Okay, so now I can just mark this side. I'm hearing from several of you that you're picking up the acrylic squares, and I want to reach out to that shop owner and say, hey, I'm sending people your way, not for any reward or anything, but I wonder if she's curious about. These are certainly selling now. So here's my paper trimmed up, and my pictures are down on the mat, and I think the white, the pop of white, is a really good choice. And I had talked about cutting a second one of these to pop it up, and I think that's going to be really cute, and I'm going to let it serve as my title. So here's, where I cut it out, and I used these My Favorite Things pierced stacks, I think is what they're called, and just to give a little bit of texture to it. I'm not going to sew on it. It's December. This is a 2021 layout. I don't have time to sew. I don't have time to sew on that. I thought about doing some running stitches, but probably not. And so here's my journaling. I've got it printed up, and I'm going to get my journal. Well, when I can find that journal die, I'm going to use it to cut these into strips. I let it live on here because I use it so much. And I'll talk more about that when I come back and they're cut. And so I think that I went to my die cuts. I know I have the die cuts for this collection, and I have the sticker sheet. I need to pull out the sticker sheet, and I thought that would be really cute. And then my journal strips will go right here, and I think the page will come together pretty quickly. So let me pause the recording and find my journal die, and we can keep going. But you know what? While I'm on the break, I'm going to go ahead and I'll tape down the paper. I moved it over to the right a little bit so that I could get my pictures to the left of this circle. That's what's driving that, and I like it. And so I think if I do the journal strips here, it'll have some balance, and I'll pull a couple of stickers and see if I can round out the page. Okay, so I located it. This is the Hero Art Sentiment Strip die, and Nicole at Coley Bean shared a Google Doc out on her drive, and I link the tutorial to this in every video in which I use the journal strips. And what you do is you take the document and you copy it to your own drive, and then you can modify it. And so what you get are these perfectly cut journal strips, and I love them. I'm kind of addicted to them. This borders on too many, but you know what? It's going to fill this space here perfectly, and it's going to kind of help finish up this page and keep it easy. So when your journaling takes up a lot of space, you don't have to worry about putting anything else there. So Nicole's default font is Century Gothic, but I use Courier Prime, which emulates American Typewriter, and I love it. So let me trim up these edges, and I'll pop them up on foam, and they'll go right down here, but I do need to get this tape down first. So anyway, aren't they pretty? So I am back, and I've got all of these journal strips taped down, and I bunched them up as close together as I could so that they wouldn't come so far beneath this photo. I was okay with them coming a little bit because I knew I could put something here to kind of marry it all together, and I like them. The thing I like about journal strips is that I think they become an element. So when I just tape down a little bullet journal or something flat, it just doesn't pop. It doesn't carry as much oomph, if you will, as the journal strips. So I love them because they become an element. And so I've got this really strong design band over here, and if you will, it's kind of like thirds. I've got photos on 2/3 and then design on the other third. And then I went to my sticker sheet, and these are not taped down, but I pulled the little hearts. So I'm looking for some repetition in my colors. And there's red here, I've got red here, and then I found this little index tab to put up here, and I pulled an aqua heart, and I've got aqua and red here. And so I'll place this little floral cluster where you can still read the phrase, "What I love most about my home is who I share it with," and I think it's cute. I've got 3 hearts. There's a heart in this banner. I like the banner, and so the banner reminds me that I wanted to talk about the white. When I knew that I wanted to map my photos in white, I knew that I would be doing journal strips, and so it becomes to me very intentional that I'm bringing white into the mix, and I think it adds a crisp pop. and you get some nice repetition of the white, and it's not only white here and everywhere else being cream. So that's kind of the impetus for the white matte selection on the photos. So I'm going to tape down my stickers. They'll all go up on foam, and then I think I'm going to see if I can find some enamel dots to finish this off. So I'll be back. So I am back, and this is a wrap. I did just add a little trio of enamel dots around the page. So I've got 3 up here and 3 here and 3 here, and then I've got them as centers on the flowers also, just for a little bit of dimension and color, since I'm not going to be doing any stitching. So this is the Simple Stories Homespun. I think this story is going to have a follow-up double page spread, but it's going to include 2022 photos. I'm not going to focus on that right now because I've got, other things I'm focusing on, but maybe look for it in the not too distant future, because once you're working with a collection, it's kind of easy to keep going with it. I don't think I have time to move to it today. So have you ever had a kiddo come back home? This guy, he came back home. He had a gap year in college that was 18 months long when he was transitioning from traditional college to culinary school. And I know that one of my siblings moved back home for a while. So, sometimes it happens. It's inevitable. And it's not a terrible thing. It does require a lot of compromise and understanding. So this is a fun way to kick off the start of that, telling the story of that chapter of our lives. And he's the only one that lived with us in all of our houses since he's been alive, because we were in an apartment while we waited for this house. And that was when it was his gap year. So imagine getting an apartment for 2 and then having your kid come home from a semester abroad and saying, oh, by the way, I'm not going back, and you're sitting on an apartment lease. So fun times. Family can be a lot of fun. So I don't know if you have this collection. I don't know if you are familiar with the life documented sketches that I shared, but hopefully you got some enjoyment out of it. And if you're new to the life documented sketches, drop a note in the comment and tell me what you think of them when you go check them out. It's a great resource. There are 30 of them, and there are some great ideas out there by Allison Davis on using the older collections that are heavy on the pocket elements. So this has been a lot of fun. When I was taping the paper down, I thought about just how much I love scrapbooking and how fun it is to play with the paper. And I'm so thankful that you're here, and it adds a little purpose to my scrapbooking. And I want to thank my subscribers. You're the heart of the community, and you always show up, and you're so kind to leave comments and like the videos. And if you're not a subscriber yet, I'd invite you to hit that button and join in on the fun. So much fun for me playing with this collection. I hope that you had some fun while I was working on this. And as always, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. I'll be back soon with more layouts, videos, and a little stash busted magic. So please come back and crop with me. Until next time, happy scrapping, and remember, this is where paper meets story. Bye-bye.